But welcome to Wednesday coding class, and thank y'all for joining me as always. I really appreciate your time. And I'm going to share my screen, get our little presentation going. I've actually got some examples that I thought were interesting today for us to work on. And yes, I've got that fall feeling. It's fall vibes all over in here right now. Let's see. Thank you, Latrice. I just read your message. Appreciate you coming while you're still at work. You too, Keena, and all of y'all that are with me from work. I appreciate it. Those of y'all that have your manuals, go ahead and take yourselves off of mute, follow along. Please, converse back and forth with me if you can, and that kind of thing. All right, so let's jump right into it. So we're looking for ICD-10 codes today, okay? All right, so that's illnesses, injuries, all that fun stuff. So our first one is going to be accidental poisoning, benzodiazepine. All right, so you can start on this one two different ways, guys. And the first thing for our newer students, let's go over real quick the steps to accurate coding. We find our keywords, we find it in the alphabetic index, we verify in the tabular, and we follow any instructions, right? Very similar to CPT, very similar. But so for this particular example, you could probably go a couple of different ways on this. You could start out with poisoning. You could look there and then go from that way. Or I wanted to do one that was medicines because y'all remember in the ICD-10, there's this one section, and it's the table of drugs and chemicals. And benzodiazepine is a drug. So you can go directly to that table instead of looking in the alphabetic index and find benzodiazepine and find which code is going to fit it best. So if y'all want to either look in the alphabetic index or look in that table and tell me what you see and what you find, that would be really appreciated for whoever's following along. I have it. All right, do I have anybody following along or that can follow along that can converse with me? Because if not, I'll just go ahead and explain. Y'all just let me know what y'all are able to do. All right, I'm not getting any answers from anybody directly.
I'm sorry, Miss Brandy. I'm in the car following along, so I can't follow along with the manual. I'm sorry.
Not a problem, Ashley. Thank you for letting me know. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Davery's still at work. Latrice is still at work. Keena's still at work. All right, and Ashley's in the car. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead then, guys, and we'll talk through it. And if y'all have questions, or if later on when you're trying to go through it yourselves, if y'all have questions, just text me and I'll re-explain whatever y'all need. Okay? But I appreciate y'all coming, even though you're not able to follow along. I really do appreciate it. Okay, so knowing benzodiazepine is a chemical, off the top, I'm going to go to the table of drugs and chemicals. And we remember that it is behind the alphabetic index in the CPT manual, right? We've got our alphabetic index, and then the table of neoplasms, and then the table of drugs and chemicals. And then after that, I think is the index, the external cause of injuries index. So we go to our table of drugs and chemicals, and just like everything else in these manuals, they are alphabetized. So we start at A, we find benzodiazepine, and in the 2023 ICD-10 manual, that's on page 522. Okay. So benzodiazepine, you're gonna look under the substance column, and you'll see it there. And then just like with the table of neoplasms, there's about 5 different, well, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns that this could be, okay? The first column is poisoning accidental. The second one is poisoning intentional or self-harm. The third one is poisoning assault, okay? The fourth one is poisoning undetermined. So that'd be like the unspecified, right? They were poisoned. We have no idea what the circumstances were. That would be undetermined. An adverse effect, that would be like if it was a prescription that they got and they had an allergy or something like that. They had a bad reaction to a drug. You would use adverse effect. And then the last column is underdosing. And this is what a lot of doctors nowadays will keep track if they have a patient that's on a substance like a benzodiazepine. They will test their blood to see how much of the chemical they have in there, how much of that drug is in their system. And if they are not taking their medication as they are supposed to, they could be underdosing. A lot of elderly patients do this because they can't afford their medication. Me personally, I do this. I do with my diabetes medicine because it's $400 a month, and who can freaking afford that, right? So I don't take my medicine every day. I take it a couple of days a week. I make one prescription last me 3 months. I just financially, that's what I have to do. And I have good insurance. I don't know how people on a fixed income can afford this crap. I really don't. If there was anything I would ever go to Washington to advocate for, it would be the cost of prescription drugs in this country. But that's a whole nother soapbox. So anyway, underdosing is your last column. So we know this is an accidental poisoning of benzodiazepine. Maybe somebody just took more than they were supposed to of their prescription. Some people will forget that they took their medicine and take it again. So we would use the code that's in that first column, and that would be T424 or .4X1. And you don't have to add anything to that. It is what it is. You just follow your table. You find your substance and pick which column it's supposed to be in, and that's your code. Drugs and chemicals are pretty easy. You got this handy dandy table, so it's pretty straightforward. All right, so very good. Any questions about that? About drugs and chemicals, any of the columns, any of that thing? And you can also, if you forget or you don't recognize a drug name, you can look in the alphabetic index and it will direct you to the correct place. Okay, so 2 ways to skin a cat, always. All right, so let's look at our second one. And this is a first-degree burn to the left thumb from touching a toaster. This is an initial encounter, so that means it's the first time that this person has done this. And this is letting us know that we need 2 ICD-10 codes for this particular scenario. So what do y'all think those codes are going to be for? Like, we're obviously going to have one for a first-degree burn to the left thumb. What's the other code going to indicate for us? Any guesses?
Maybe which thumb or which hand that the burn occurred to.
That will be indicated in that first code for the thumb. The second, good guess though, Ashley, that's a really good guess. The second code is going to let us know how they got the burn. And in this case, it's from touching a toaster. So we're going to have one code that's going to code the burn. And then we're going to have another code for the cause. Okay. All right. And then initial encounter, we know what that means. We'll figure that out once we get there. All right, so let's start with the first-degree burn to the thumb. So I would start with burn and go from there in your alphabetic index. You start with burn. It says burn, burning, or burned maybe, or something like that. But you follow it down by body part, face, head, leg, etc. And there's hand. And the thumb is on the hand, so you would think maybe that would be the automatic thing to go to. Not necessarily. In this instance, it's going to tell you see thumb. There's a specific one for thumbs, so you would just keep following your columns until you got to thumb under burn, and that'll take you to code, I think it's T23, and then from there we verify in our tabular. We find code T23, which is going to be page, did I not mark it? I didn't mark it. All right, so T23. We need T3. Of course, I'm going to every page all around it. All right, so page 1461. 1461. And it's going to take you to T23. And it says the section heading on that, burn and corrosion of wrist and hand. So somewhere in this section, and it's several pages long, this section. It's pretty long. There's a lot of different, different digits, multiple digits, different degrees of burn, things like that. So it's a pretty big section. But our alphabetic index brought us to T23.12. So I'm going to go to T23.12, burn of the first degree, single finger, except thumb. So that doesn't fit us. That doesn't fit us at all. So I am going to read through and find just the thumb. See, and I've got the wrong answer written down. I didn't see that except thumb part. So see, guys, even I get it wrong sometime. Except thumb. Multiple fingers, including thumb. All right, I am gonna go back to my alphabetic index because apparently I missed something somewhere. And this happens, guys. This is the normal case of coding. Tricky toe. Thumb. Oh, I wrote down wrong. T23.019. T23.119. And 9. Same page, just all the way down to the bottom. Burn of the first degree, multiple sites of wrist and hand. All right. Burn of the first degree, multiple sites of right wrist and hand. All right. Burn the first degree of hand unspecified. Right hand, left hand unspecified. But we know it's the thumb. 23311. Burn the first degree of thumb. All right, there we go. T23.11. I was looking all around it. All around it. Okay, T23.11. Burn the first degree of thumb. And then it indents down to right thumb, left thumb, or unspecified thumb. That's highlighted in purple. So we are left thumb, right? Correct. Yeah, left thumb. All right, so we're looking at T23.112, but there is a stop sign. It means we can't code that. There needs to be additional information added to that code. Well, there's no X, so there's not going to be a placeholder. Okay, no X. So that leads me to believe that, and the fact that it states initial encounter, that we're going to have one of those additional identifiers, the A, D, S, those that we add to the end of the code. So I'm going to go to the beginning of T23, And sure enough, there's one of those little blue boxes, blue purple boxes, says A, initial encounter. And if you look at this code, it's already 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 digits. So all we need to do is add that A on the end of it to indicate the initial encounter. So it'll be T23.112A, as in apple. Excuse me. All right, so that's our first code, is for the burn of the thumb. Now the second code, and if you also go back to the beginning of T23, it says that, or the beginning of the section, use additional external cause codes to identify the source, place, and intent of the burn, right? So our source in this case is the person touched a toaster. So that's what we're gonna look for, a toaster burn, essentially. So we're gonna go back to the front of our book, and we're gonna go not to the alphabetic index, but to the external cause index, which is right behind the table of drugs and chemicals. Excuse me. Okay. So it's a big orange section. And again, alphabetized as always. You go to burn, which is on page 623. And we see burn, burned, burning, accidental, by or from, or on. Okay. And then it goes on to list not the body parts, but different ways a person can be burned, right? So you've got acid, bed linen, okay, blowtorch, bonfire, candle, chemicals, cigars, clothes, hot plate. And look, there's even a section from appliance: cooker, hot plate, kettle, light bulb, saucepan, skillet, stove, and toaster. Awesome. So we got toaster, and that leads us to code X15.1. So we're gonna find X, which is gonna be all the way in the back of our manual. I do have that one tabbed, thankfully. All right, so that's gonna be on page 1605. Okay, we're gonna look in the right-hand column on the right page, X15.1. X15 is contact with hot household appliances. So it indents down to let us know contact with hot stove, hot toaster, hot plate. All right, so X15.1 is our hot toaster, but as we see, there's a stop sign and an X right in front of it. And there's also a little purple box right above it. It says initial, subsequent, or sequela. So X15.1 is only 4 characters long, so we need an additional 3 characters on the end of that. So we're going to add 2 X's and an A, right? X15.1 XXA is going to be your correct answer on that. Any questions on that, guys? Where I'm getting the A from, where the place, how I know I need a placeholder that's an X, anything like that? Any questions or concerns? No? Everybody's good? For the most part, y'all are doing really good with the ICD-10 coding on the exams. The one thing I will say is watch out for those A's and just make sure that you're reading all the directions and stuff. Some of y'all will consistently get like one code off of the correct answer, and that's okay, guys. If you're in the right ballpark at this point, then you're doing great. Okay, if you're getting that close, I'm giving you pretty much full credit for it, because that's really good. That's really good. Okay, ICD-10 coding is a little bit complicated once you start having to add in placeholders and initial indicators, or excuse me, additional indicators and things like that. So it can be a little bit confusing. So I'm not grading y'all super hard, but y'all are doing really well. We're doing real good. Okay, so let's go on to our third and last one for today. I only did three because I knew that second one was going to be a little bit involved and take a little bit of time. So, crushing injury to the right hip, initial encounter, patient injured in a car accident. Now, one thing I think I might have messed up on this. I didn't tell you whether or not the patient was driving in said car accident or a passenger. And I think there's a difference. Well, probably when we get to that code, we will probably figure out that there's passenger, driver, or unspecified. And we'll probably have to use an unspecified code for that because I forgot to put what role they were playing in that car accident. All right, so crushing injury to the right hip, initial encounter. So I'm going to start real easy with that one. Or crush, a crushing injury. So we'll find that in our alphabetic index and then go from there. All right, so in the alphabetic index, I'm finding crushing, and then we follow our body parts, so we get to hip, and it's taking me to S77. So I'm going to go there. In our tabular, we found it in the alphabetic index, then we verify in our tabular, right? And S77 cannot be used on its own. There's a stop sign in the alphabetic index. So we always verify anyway, but we for dang sure know we got to this go round. All right, so S77, crushing injury of hip and thigh. All right. So I'm starting to read down and I see we have a blue box. So we have our initial encounter. We're going to need an A on that. And then the first one is S77.0, crushing injury of hip. All right, and then it's unspecified right hip or left hip. And then it goes on to thigh and then hip with thigh, which neither one of that fit what we're doing. We're just the hip. So we're going to stick with that S77.0. And because it is the left hip, right hip, right hip. So right hip, it's going to be 0.01. And then we see those X's right in front of it, right? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to need one X and then our A to indicate initial encounter. So S77.01 XA is an apple. And that'll be your correct answer for the hip injury. All right, now we know how this injury was caused. She was in a car accident, so we need a code for that as well. And I forgot to put 2 codes on there also. But here we go. So car accident, and this one I actually haven't found the answer for yet, so we're going to find that together. So what I'm going to do, this is a cause, so I'm going to go back to my external causes index, the one we were just in to find the burn, the toaster thing. I'm going to go back there. I'm going to find accident, and y'all, in the external causes index, accident section goes on for pages and pages. I mean like 6 pages in this manual of different types of accidents. All right, so this was a car accident. I'm seeing transport. So accident, car, see accident, transport, car occupant caused by or due to. Okay, so I need to find transport. I'm gonna keep following along till I see transport. And that's on the very next page, it starts transport. And you can see all the different ways in which people can be injured by transport. 18-wheeler, aircraft, glider, hang glider, powercraft, helicopter, spacecraft. That's right, if an astronaut crashes, we have a code for that. Okay. Let's see. Person, airport, all-terrain vehicle, dune buggy, snowmobile. ambulance, animal drawn vehicle. If you are on a hayride and you get hurt, we have a code for that. Battery powered truck. We were looking for what it was, car. Still under animal. Animal, motorcycle, military vehicle, e-bike. Military vehicle, okay, so transport. Bus occupant, no. Car, here we go. Car occupant, it's like 2 pages over, and like it looks like half of the accident section is literally transport stuff. So it's kind of like a couple pages over, we find transport car occupant. V49.9. Let's see, ambulance, collision with. Car occupant. Okay, see, so there's like bus occupant, car occupant, ambulance, collision with. That'd be like if they got hit by the car. So no, we don't want collision with. Car occupant, collision continued. We're gonna keep going. Car occupant. We really don't know what what she hit. It doesn't say what the car accident, it just says car accident. It doesn't say if she hit another car or something like that. So I'm gonna go, we don't know if she was the driver or a passenger. So I'm gonna go to the beginning of that section, the car occupant section, V49.9, and go from there. Nail it down from there, V49.9. Sometimes it's easier just to get into the section and start reading through the descriptions and see what's gonna work and what's not, instead of spending all kinds of time in the alphabetic index. So V49.9. All right, V49, car occupant injured in other and unspecified transport accidents. Okay. Yeah. All right, because I'm looking, if you look on the column before, we're in the right-hand column on page 1570. The other sections are car occupant injured in collision with fixed or stationary object. We have no idea, so we're going to need to go unspecified. So the V49 is the section that we're going to be in because we don't know. So in other or unspecified transport accidents. Now it does say the appropriate 7th character also needs to be added to this. Okay, initial, subsequent, sequela. We have that box, so we know we have our additional indicators. So let's see, driver, passenger, unspecified car occupant injured in collision with other and unspecified motor vehicles in non-traffic accident. Non-traffic accident. Unspecified non-traffic accident. Unspecified vehicles, car occupant, passenger injured in specific transport accident. Okay, so I would go all the way to the bottom. We have car occupant, driver or passenger, injured in unspecified traffic accident. I think that's what I would go with. Now, We have to add our space holders because there's X there, and we got to get it to the 7th character, right? And we have that indicator. So V49.9, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 characters. We need 3. So that's going to be 2 X's in the A. So V49.9 X X A is going to be your correct answer for that one. Let me write that down. V49.9 X X A. Okay. All right. Fantastical. All right. Any questions or concerns, y'all? Any questions on where I get the A from? How do I know how many X's to add? Any questions at all? No? Okay. Just some helpful tips and hints and things like that. Y'all are doing better on the exams. I'm about to be caught up. I am caught up with a lot of them, but I'll be caught up in the next couple of days with your exam grades and stuff. I think I'm already caught up on your dailies and labs on everything except for this week's stuff. So just bear with me on those exams. We'll get them sorted out. But y'all are doing very, very well. Very, very well. I'm not worried about y'all at all. Y'all are doing great. So any questions, concerns, anything at all? Thank you, Latrice. All right. All right. Well, if y'all don't have any questions for me, that's all I got for y'all today. And y'all just be blessed. Thank you as always for your time. I'll see you tomorrow at 4 for our regular weekly meeting. Y'all have a good one.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye, Keena. Thank you.